Residing within the confines of a shelter, this dog endured 2 long years of sadness. However, one day, it caught a whiff of a familiar scent, leading to an unbelievable turn of events. Paquita was a big, pretty brown dog. She looked like she had a lot of chocolate lab in her, but she had a problem. She loved to go outside and explore, even though her owner tried to keep her inside. Sometimes she would sneak out when her owner was at work, but she'd usually come back before he got home. He tried to keep her inside, but when the neighbors saw her outside, they knew she was a friendly dog who liked to play. Kids would play with her by throwing the ball, and others would give her food and water, so she was taken care of, even though her owner, Ariel Navarra, tried to keep her inside the yard with a leash. Labrador dogs, like Paquita, are really clever, and she was too smart for her owner. She kept finding ways to get out, and one day, she saw a squirrel and ran after it. She ran much farther than she thought, and when she tried to go back, she didn't recognize the place. She kept walking without realizing that she was going farther away from home. The poor dog was tired and scared. She tried to go in a few backyards, knowing that her neighbors always had water waiting for her. But this time, the residents of the homes would just chase her off. She tried to run to kids that were playing outside, but they ran away screaming, scared of the large dog coming towards them. It must have hurt the poor canine's feelings. She was used to people caring about her, but these people didn't know her. Many of the residents felt like the dog was making a nuisance of herself. One of them decided that it would be better to get the brown dog taken away. They were worried since some kids were throwing rocks at Paquita. It was becoming dangerous for the dog to stay in the neighborhood. They called her and Paquita came to them easily. Then these people took her to Ark, an animal shelter. This is a great shelter that really cares about the animals that are brought to them. Sylvia Ferreira, one of the volunteers at the shelter, was touched by the dog right away. Paquita had sad eyes, and by the time she got to the shelter, she had lost her trust in humans. The once happy dog didn't want to bond with anyone at the shelter. Sylvia would try to pet her, and she would just pull away and keep her distance. Paquita was very shy, and she didn't want another family. She knew that her person was somewhere out there missing her. She just needed to make her way home, not to find a new family. But despite how withdrawn Paquita was, the shelter personnel tried their best to help the dog open up. They really wanted her to get adopted. They'd often tried to pair Paquita with families that came to look for a dog at the shelter, but every time Paquita refused to play with them or get close. She would just stay behind the shelter volunteer that was introducing them, like a scared child trying to hide behind their mother. But that would be the only time she showed trust in her caretakers. At other times, she avoided them too. Time after time, the families went with younger puppies or dogs that were just friendlier than Paquita. For 2 years, they tried to get the dog to socialize, but she wasn't having any of it. Each time Sylvia or any of the volunteers tried to pet her, Paquita would pull away and cower in a corner, trying to make herself as small as possible. This wasn't the dog that liked to socialize. She just wanted to be left alone. Instead of coming out of her shell, as time went on, Paquita became even more depressed. When 2 years had passed, Sylvia and her colleagues knew that they needed to try something different. They wanted to oppose Paquita on social media and get people to come in, especially to adopt the sad girl. They could warn people that she wasn't social and hope someone would be willing to take her on, but they struggled to even get a picture of her to post. Every time they tried to take a photo, she would turn her head away and avoid eye contact. You could see how sad she was, but they hoped to get another picture, one nice picture of her beautiful face to get someone to fall in love with her. It took a while, but after many attempts, they managed to get one picture that was relatively decent. They posted it on their social media page, hoping it would inspire someone to come forward and adopt Paquita. They hoped that she would become less depressed if she lived in a house instead of at the shelter. This was Paquita's last chance of finding a home, or she might end up spending the rest of her days in the shelter. They would care for her regardless, but it would still be really sad. Then something incredible happened. Ariel Navarra's mother saw the post, and she knew that this was Ariel's baby. He had been looking for Paquita for 2 years and didn't have the heart to get a new dog. It would feel like he was giving up on Paquita, and he just couldn't do that. He had often gone out searching for his lost dog, but never had any luck. His mother knew how sad he was and searched through social media pages from different shelters in their city, hoping she would see Paquita on one of them someday. She hoped for the best, but didn't really expect it to ever happen. Now she was sure the dog she was looking at was their very own Paquita. The dog seemed a lot sadder than when she lived with them, but it was her. She phoned the shelter first. Her biggest fear was that she would phone, and they would tell her Paquita had already been adopted. But she was in luck. The shelter personnel were really excited to hear from her, and Sylvia and all the other volunteers really hoped that this was going to be the happy ending Paquita deserved. But they had no guarantees. There was still a chance that Ariel and his mother could get to the shelter and find that this wasn't their dog at all, or Paquita could have so many emotional scars from her years in the shelter that she didn't recognize them. It was a scary situation with an unpredictable outcome. As soon as Ariel heard that his mother thought she had found Paquita, he wanted to get to her the very next day. The two went to the shelter. The personnel brought Paquita out to see them, but things didn't go as they had hoped. Someone was filming the encounter, hoping that Paquita would instantly be excited and happy to see her humans, but that didn't happen at all. It's crucial to bear in mind that this dog was in a state of profound sadness and suffering. She may not have even trusted her own eyes, as it seemed like all their worst fears were becoming a reality. Paquita remained apprehensive about approaching Ariel. Instead, she sought refuge behind the shelter volunteer who had brought her outside, just as she had done with countless other families attempting to adopt her. Ariel, however, was not ready to concede defeat. Having finally located his dog after 2 agonizing years of uncertainty, he was determined to remind her of the love they shared, even if she couldn't recognize him at first. Taking a seat in front of the frightened dog, he gently called her name. Gradually, she drew nearer, sniffing him cautiously. Then, in a moment of sheer magic, her entire demeanor transformed. She unmistakably recognized his scent. The sorrowful dog vanished within seconds, replaced by exuberant leaps and joyful licks as she greeted Ariel. Their reunion was an exceptionally heartwarming moment, bringing tears of joy to those witnessing their rekindled bond. Their connection endured, and Ariel provided an update over a year after their reunion with Paquita. She never made any attempts to escape again, and their closeness grew stronger with each passing day. They had become inseparable, and both were determined to ensure they would never be separated again. What do you think of this heartwarming reunion? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.